I have a client who is a SEO agency. They primarily work with Shopify sites, and they hired me to build them an automated interlinking system. And part of that system was taking content from a Google Doc and uploading that to Shopify. So if you're looking for some kind of automation that takes content from a Google Doc and uploads that to the internet, this will apply to you, because there's a fair number of things we had to do with the HTML from the Google Doc to parse out the fact that this was human inputted stuff. And there were a few things that Shopify Support actually said was impossible with their API. I'm going to show you how I solved it, how you can solve it too. And we're going to look at proper HTML formatting for Shopify articles. If you have a bunch of human input articles, content in Google Docs, and you want to upload that, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. There's a few different steps, both in terms of what you have to eliminate from the Google Doc, things you have to set in Shopify, like special permissions that were completely not obvious to me. So if you run an SEO agency or some kind of agency where you're uploading content to the internet, this is definitely for you, because there's a lot of tough lessons that, honestly, this system took me a lot longer to develop because of some of these like weird gotchas that I just didn't honestly anticipate going in. So sit tight and buckle up. So there's a few steps. All right, so the first things first, our overall automation for parsing the HTML document looks something like this. At the start, we have our Google Docs API call. All right, so the way this works is you put in a document ID and you put the type as HTML, and that seems to be like really simple and obvious, right? And I have a sample doc here, right, that we are going to use as an example for this tutorial. Right? The problem with these Google Docs, though, is so the next step what you have to do is you have like the data, and this is binary code. You then have to do a convert to binary, right? So the the configuration of this looks like this, and then what you get out is HTML, right? The thing you'll notice right away is that this HTML has a lot of like just junk characters in it, which if you're creating an automation that does something with this HTML, so in my case I was creating links between articles and checking for formatting and things like that. If you have an automation that needs to check those things, this is really unusable. So what you have to do is you have to use regular expressions to replace chunks of this HTML code. So if you have never used regular expressions before, it's a technology that's been around since I believe the 90s, if not earlier than that. And what it allows you to do is search for text patterns in text and either extract it or replace it. So the next step, all right, so we're like looking at our tutorial. Step one is extract the HTML. And step two is we have to eliminate junk characters. So what we do is it's configured like this, right? We're generating, we're putting in this junk HTML, right? And what we get out is much, much, much cleaner HTML. So this is the much cleaner HTML. This is the actual HTML from the article. Sort of okay, right? One of the things, though, that you'll notice about, so my article here, it looks like a decent article. So there's a few things that we noticed that the content team, the writers, were doing in the article that I'm going to go through step by step, because like genuinely this was causing huge headaches with us, and every single time I had to adjust the code to parse some stuff out. So what happens with writers is they'll put a bunch of extra spaces in here. So you see how like there's extra spaces here, there's extra spaces here. You have to, when you're parsing this article, you have to eliminate these extra spaces because it just doesn't look good if you take this code and upload it to HTML right away. It looks like this. The other interesting thing is writers, what they were actually doing every 100 articles or so is they were using stuff that they were copying and pasting from headers, but they were formatting it as H1. So if you look at this paragraph text here, it says normal text, which is like a normal paragraph text. This text here looks like a normal paragraph text. It's the same format as the regular paragraph text, but it's formatted as a heading 1 here. And what happens is it shows up here as a header 1. So you see the raw HTML we've extracted from the document is correct HTML, but it needs to be fixed, right? So that's one problem. What you have to do is eliminate some stuff here, and so on and on and on. So you also have cases where, or not cases where, if you have an ampersand or quotation marks or something in the header 1 tag, when you upload to specifically the Shopify API, it takes the header 1 is a separate field in the Shopify API. It's not an HTML field. It's a plain text field. So what you have to do is you have to convert any HTML characters in the header 1 into plain text. So this ampersand rs quo thing goes to like a regular apostrophe. You also have to eliminate Google Docs comments, because comments like this do show up in the HTML if you don't eliminate them. And the other interesting thing that we noticed was that if somebody writes an article on like Microsoft Word for Mac and pastes the article into Google Docs, and then we upload that to Shopify, it causes this duplicate link thing. So you see this like data MCE href thing. This doesn't show up like to the visible human eye. This doesn't show up in the raw HTML, right? So I'm going to walk you through how we have to eliminate this, right? So we also have duplicate paragraph tags, right? Like this. We have all this extra space like p. This space needs to be removed. This was all showing up in Shopify. And as well, we have, a weird one. If a writer highlights part of a, so in here, okay, so see how I've highlighted part of the link in yellow? Not the whole link, but just part of the link. What we noticed happening was a writer would highlight, they would try to highlight the entire link to say, hey, look, I've put the link in, right? Like, notice this. But they would miss one character. And one of the things we were doing is extracting the HTML from the GOC and then checking the anchor text to make sure they were using the correct anchor text. And this highlighting error was causing these error text things, right? It was creating two separate links. So I'll show you that in a second. See where it says like this is and then we have a sentence, but then the link closes, but then a new link immediately opens, and it creates two separate links. This was an issue as well. What else? If you're adding like a table of contents, like this article will cover like link, and it's anchor links to the other headers in the article. If there's special characters like a colon in that header, I was automatically going through and generating the anchor text, right? But if there was a special character like a colon in the H2 tags, then this was just getting eliminated actually when we uploaded to WordPress. So there's all these things that need to be processed about the incoming Google Docs link for you to be able to successfully deal, modify the article, link to it, actually detect if the correct link was added or not, and successfully upload to Shopify without seeing these hidden character things. So I'm going to walk you through each step of this. The first thing we're doing is just eliminating all the junk that we can. This is everything in the head tag. This is there's some span characters that get put in automatically. So you'll see. Actually, what I'll do here is show you like what this is doing. So regex 101. So this is our regular expression, and what we're doing is taking the input text, which is all this junk. I'll show you what we are eliminating here so you can see. All right, so you can see like the majority of this document is just bogus characters, right? So we're doing, we're leaving the H1 tag alone, but we're eliminating all these extra additional style parameters here for the span tag, right? We eliminate that. We have the H1, et cetera, et cetera. So we're getting this. The next thing we're doing is doing a replacement to a space. So there were times when the writer would they would highlight like a space character and link the space character either before or after the link. It was just kind of ridiculous. So we're doing that. We're eliminating any link that has just white space in it. We're eliminating that. And we're replacing all the non-breaking space characters in HTML with just a regular space. Then what we do is there's some other characters from the first replacement that are still left over because we've just eliminated so much. One of the things that's kind of interesting is with lists like this, we had issues where the writer would put an extra space in here, right? And so visually to your eye, this looks like number 1, number 2, number 3, right? But it's only because Google Docs has sort of intelligently guessed that this is what you want to say. If you extract the raw HTML from this list, this 1, 2, 3, it actually is internal to the HTML. It's 3 separate lists, each that have 1 item in it. So this is the raw HTML, right? So you could say, this is the start of an ordered list. This is a list item. This is the end of a list item, and then it detects it as the end of an ordered list. So what this shows up as, if you don't do anything further, if you just upload this to Shopify or WordPress or wherever, any kind of HTML, it shows up as number one, right? So what you have to do is eliminate that so that it doesn't do that. So I'm doing that with both ordered list and unordered lists. I'm eliminating basically empty links. And what this does is it takes it's the highlighting issue where there's one link that's been highlighted only partially or formatted partially, and we're merging those together and assuming that the first link is the one that's correct. So that is this part. And then what this does is it eliminates empty header tags and empty paragraph tags. So that is that. And then the last part is we're just extracting the H1 tag and the body characters, or the body tags. So what we're left with is this HTML. So let's say HTML tester, you see the difference. So, all right. So if we compare 1 to 2, in this one, this paragraph has been sort of assumed to be a header. This one, we're eliminating everything, but actually what we still do is we keep this because we're not able to detect if this is a real header or fake header. But you can see what we've done here is eliminated the extra white space and merged all of the list items together into one list. So that's that. So now you're at this point where you've properly processed your Google Doc. You've got the HTML code, et cetera, et cetera. The next step in what I did here, and I'll do this as a separate video, is automatically interlink articles. So for this particular application, they had a bunch of articles that were in a silo. Maybe there was 10 or 5 to 10 in a silo, and these would all be related to the same topic. So what they wanted to do was take article 1 and link it to 2, 3, and 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take article 2 and link it to 1, 3, 4, 5. Take article 3 and link it to 1, 2, 4, and 5, and so on and so forth. And then check to make sure that all the links have been created successfully. So I will cover that in another video, but you can, in this stage, once you have the correct HTML code, what you can do is just do whatever processing you would normally do. What I did was I would go through as well and check that all the links that were in the document to external links or to internal product pages and collections and things were actually valid links. They weren't 404s, they weren't 301 redirects, and things like that. But you would do that step here. Now, the last step after you're done processing your HTML or like adding stuff to it is uploading it. So the first thing you have to do, and this is super weird. I know. Like, just disclaimer. If your user type that you have is able to manually add articles, that's one thing. But to automatically add articles to Shopify, you need a different permission. You need the discounts permission. You need this one. I know this doesn't make any sense. I know. Trust me, I know. But in our particular case, like, I had to spend like probably half an hour to an hour on chat support with Shopify Support to figure this out, because I know it's completely unintuitive, but we were having permission issues until this one thing was ticked. Shopify Support simulated our environment, trust me, I know this is weird. I know it doesn't make sense. If somebody from Shopify is watching this, fix your API permissions, because this makes no sense to me. So, discounts, okay? So, uploading HTML, you have to have discounts, whatever. You also need to be able to set meta fields, so the meta title and the meta description. This is a different permission. You need to be able to do this create and edit entries permission for your user type. Otherwise, you won't be able to set meta fields automatically, okay? So to set meta fields automatically, the thing is, Shopify Support says this is impossible, right? They say you cannot do this. They are wrong. Okay. It took me a while, probably 6 or 7 different API calls to figure out like how things were structured in the back end. They have this whole GraphQL API thing, which is genuinely like not very well documented, but this is how you do it. So what you have to do, I had this as like all different subroutines. So we had one of these created per client. And the first thing you do is you upload the article. The next thing you do is you create a meta field for the title. Then you create a meta field for the description. So the way that you configure these calls, so the upload article one is straightforward. That's easy. These meta field ones, here's how you configure them. So this is the API call for make. You can implement this in custom code or Zapier or whatever. But the namespace is global. The key is title _ tag. You can put in the value here. The owner resource is article, and the owner ID is the article ID you just uploaded. That's how you do it. Okay? That's the complete tutorial. This took me way too long to figure out, so hopefully you can save some of the time that I painfully wasted figuring out this weird meta field thing that Shopify Support said was impossible, and that is it. So happy automating. Hopefully this was helpful to some of you who run SEO agencies or are doing some other kind of like content. Uploading automatically to WordPress is very similar. I'll do a separate video on the WordPress upload kind of API stuff, because meta titles and fields for that are different. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. If you have an application that you are looking to automate and you cannot figure out how, or there's just weird stuff happening and you don't know how to get around it, I'll drop a link below. You can book a call and our team can help you. So I need to get better at YouTube close-offs, but I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe subscribe or something. I don't know. Do whatever you want to do. Have a great day.